Oh, we are in and amongst it. We are staring now, gentlemen, at the one of the biggest co-mains I've probably seen this year, to be fair. It's so exciting. Maybe just because Paddy's such a big, loud household name over here in the UK, but also we just love Chandler for everything he brings to the sport and all of his heart.
Yeah, this one's a tough for me, man. This one is tough for me as well. I don't know what it's like for you, but personally, like I love Chandler. Like I really do like him. He's just such an exciting fighter.
He is.
But obviously, Paddy's our guy, man. But I just like obviously, of course, deep down I want Paddy to win. But then I'll just feel so bad for Chandler because he's like, if he loses this, I think he's like lost 3 in a row.
Exactly. He needs a win. We need to see him up
and
there.
And he needs a W, man.
He really does. He really does. Every fight he's lost, though, I loved him through it. I've loved him through it, you know.
But like he done so well against Dustin Poirier until he just got overexcited. And then he could have had Charles Oliveira out there, but just got overswung and literally overswung that left hand and then fell to the mat, and Charles Oliveira took advantage.
I think they'll still keep him around though after this fight, still lose or win.
Hopefully,
because
obviously we want Paddy to win.
He's such a company guy, you know. Such a company brand and name, and also now Patricio Pitbull is in the mix. It's almost like,
you never know.
What happens there?
Be a rematch.
Yeah, maybe we've got to change the visions, but who's going to go down for it? Maybe he does go down to weight class. I don't know. He's too hench. Anyway, let's do the housekeeping, right? So let's talk about it. Michael Chandler, he's 38 years old, and he is a former 3-time Bellator lightweight champion with 2 and 4 UFC record since 2021. So he came into UFC, but he's not got all of that going on for him. Now, for his aggressive explosion, he's got an aggressive, explosive style, and he's kind of forced top opponents like Charles Oliveira. He's faced top opponents like Oliveira, Dustin Poirier, and Dustin Gaethje as well. Yeah. With recent losses to Poirier and Oliveira as well, like TKO submission. So he's lost on multiple occasions. But Paddy Pimblett, he's 30 years old, he's undefeated, and he is in the UFC, but he has 22-3 overall in his record. His most recent win, that was a submission over Bobby Green. It was a spectacular submission back in July 2024 last year. And I guess he's kind of really known for his persona, isn't he? He's known for his brashness and his entertainment fights, and this is the first time he's really been able to step into the octagon and fight a opponent of the caliber of what Chandler is, you know. Yes, did he go out there and impress me against Bobby Green, which I thought was a step up in competition? Yeah, he did. And this time round, instead of
is it too much of a jump too soon?
Right. I mean, I thought that might be the case for the likes of Green. He proved that, and he was levels above him in flying colors. I saw that. It was a remarkable performance he had. But then we saw him attack a striker, someone with that striking technical ability, and he did really well. Next is, of course, his power. Has he even matched up against someone of this kind of power standard either? I don't think so. I think this is the most powerful opponent he's ever faced, and we're going to have 100%. To learn a lot from this.
Interesting as well, Jax. If you're still there, making a walk MMA, I just wanted to ask you, and obviously the chat as well, and you, of course, an interesting point that he brought up a minute ago, saying the age factor to do with Pitbull. Pitbull's 37, Chandler's 38.
Other way around.
But Chandler's 38, yeah?
Oh, no, you're right. Yeah, it is that way around.
Yeah, Chandler's 38.
Yeah.
And obviously he said, or JK asked the question as well, is Pitbull done because of his age, or he was going for Rodriguez because of his age to do against Pitbull? But Chandler's still doing it at 38. And a lot of people are probably going to be picking Chandler in this fight. So I'm just trying to think, where does the logic lie there? If you're going to be going for Rodriguez due to age factor, would you be going for Paddy due to the age factor, or would you be? Of course, it's 2 different styles. I get that, but I just wanted to sort of put that out there.
The betting odds have actually favored Pimblett at an underdog minus 160, with Chandler at like a plus 140. That's what the betting odds have looked at. I saw that Making Money podcast earlier this week with Moicano. And his analysis was great. I don't know if you saw it, but he was like,
"No, I haven't done that."
He thinks Chandler's gonna win because Paddy Pimblett fights like this, and Chandler fights like this. So what do you think's gonna happen? I see if I get his. So he's like, "What do you think's gonna happen?"
That's jokes.
You got an overhand punch, or you got the hands up, leaning back, and he's just going to expose the chin.
Mm. Yeah, but we just don't know if the Michael Chandler came out against Charles Oliveira and overswings again. It's going to be a bad night for Chandler because Paddy will just probably cinch in a rear naked choke. So I think Chandler does need to be a little bit defensively sound and not overswing because Paddy will cinch anything up that he can grab onto. But then, yeah, Paddy's not fought no one of the level of competition and high caliber. Obviously, is Chandler. Like I asked you, I lost the chat. Is Paddy Pimblett eating too much of his dinner, fighting someone as good as Michael Chandler or as in the rankings as Chandler? Should he have fought someone else before he kind of stepped in there to fight someone like Chandler?
Nah, he's going back for seconds, mate. I'll tell you what, though, he did say, so Paddy Pimblett predicts a finish in round 2, either by KO or submission. And he said, I think I'm going to finish Mike in 2. As I say, I think I can finish this fight anywhere. He loves lunging in with his punches. I can see me catching him with a shot on the way in. And they are words from Paddy Pimblett, who he was very confident that he can get this done via the likes of KO knockout.
Yeah,
and
it's an interesting one.
What would you say to that? Not likely.
I don't know. Let's get to some chats because they're coming through thick and fast. MMA Psychic says, been watching the Chandler versus Justin fight. If that version turns up, I think it's a short night. Do you mean for Paddy? Making Walk MMA says it's wild that Chandler was that close to being a champion. He should be graded on a curve based on his strength of scheduled, even if he loses. Okay, interesting. MMA Sidekick says, just imagine where Chandler would be if he didn't wait for Conor. That's very true.
I'm just thinking that as well. This is the first fight he's had since the whole Conor deal was supposed to happen. Got derailed, didn't it? This is Chandler's.
No, he fought Charles. He fought Charles, but that's
yeah.
But yeah, he waited like a year and a bit. But like you said, he probably could have had at least a couple more fights. Probably could have started Spinell Darius by now. MMA Psychic says, because we haven't seen Pitbull.
He's here now. Now, give it time. Do you think, and there's a question for everyone, I mean, first of all, is it possible? But secondly, do you think it's best that someone like Chandler goes down a division, given the fact that...
Oh, no.
You don't think that's a...
You don't have to chop his arms off or something.
You don't think it's possible? You don't think it's a good idea?
No, it's not a good idea, man. He's too big.
Pitbull's made it.
Yeah, I know, but he's a much smaller guy, not as stocky as Chandler. Chandler's just too stocky. He's like size of your thighs, man. Yeah, Jack says Chandler's age does dedicate how many explosive movements he makes. It does factor in. I think Paddy has a great shot if he can tuck that chin and get into a scramble. Very well said there, sir. Very well said.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, so let's get the gauges up then and see.
Yeah, go on, mate.
See what we're dealing with. So when it comes down to striking, okay, I can straight ahead go and give power to the likes of
Chandler.
Chandler, indeed.
Grappling goes to Pimblett.
Okay, cool. We can do that. Nice and easy. Grappling to Pimblett. So what about striking? What about speed?
Speed, I kind of want to go for Chandler just because, like, could you put explosiveness into kind of speed because of how
I hear you
explosive he is?
I see your logic and I accept it. Because I think he's fast, and if Paddy was a very quick striker, I would have said, look, I've got to give it to Paddy. But that explosiveness would have to transcend into speed just because it's still going to outweigh the speed of what Paddy's got to offer on his side. And then we got cardio and striking. Paddy's been able to get finishes, and we've also seen Chandler gas.
We have. I've seen Paddy's side. Paddy lost that third round against Tony Ferguson because he blew his gasket in the first and second, and he was tired in that third round. Yeah. So, but obviously, if anyone's got any grit or determination, it's going to be Chandler. So I'd definitely give cardio to Chandler.
You want to give it to Chandler?
Yeah,
but he's such a bigger engine to run. He's in the size of it.
It is, but he runs off grit and will and just willpower, man.
Someone else, but then also so does Paddy. Like,
Mm.
Well, somewhat.
What we're going for on the chat? Who do you reckon gets cardio
To
before
be
we choose
fair,
striking?
yeah, I would agree with you. The fact that Chandler has been through more wars. I mean,
Yeah, we've got a question just to touch on, like you said, their wars.
right.
Jack says to us, "How confident are you all in Paddy's chin in rounds 1 and 2?" And just to ask you, I just got to double check: is this a 5-round co-main event or is it 3 rounds?
That's a good question. I believe it's 3. How do I check that? I would have to. Doesn't say
Is
so.
it a 3-rounder?
Yeah, I think it surely would be 3 rounds. Yeah, because why would it go to 5? It's not a belt. It's not a. It's just a.
You never know. They might spice it up.
Do you reckon?
But striking, don't know.
I don't think there's any special.
Obviously, if anyone's going to throw more elusive strikes, it would be Paddy. But
It's tough, right? I think, yeah. Can we give Paddy striking? Seeing what he's
chat
done before.
I'm going to phone a friend. Chat. You are on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I have 30 seconds to read you out this question. You've got to give me your answer. So, chat.
Let's go.
We've got Paddy Pimblett taking on Michael Chandler, and we've got to decide who gets the striking. Who gets the striking advantage? Paddy Pimblett or Michael Chandler? We have 15 seconds. Let's get it in the chat. Let's go. JK says Chandler striking easy, no debate. He says the only reason that I'm thinking, obviously, my natural instinct did say Chandler, but then I'm just thinking, yeah.
I mean, if you ask the question of who's going to do it with the hands, it's got to be Chandler, and striking with following the hands. But you think you put it down to his power largely, and then you think who's going to do it with like, we say striking and then Paddy knocks him out. Then what? Right.
Here we go. Matt W is in the chat. Welcome in, Matt W. Hope you're doing well, sir. He says Scousers don't get knocked out, or as Cody Garnbrent would say, sorcerers don't get knocked out. Sorcerers don't get knocked out. Matt W says Scousers don't get knocked out. They do when it's Chandler's KO power. Ooh.
Yeah.
And then he says that Vanderini KO as well. He was talking about when Paddy got caught by Vanderini. Making Walk MMA says I'd say Chandler for striking because of the danger factor. And Jordan agrees with Matt's comment. Scousers don't get knocked out, but it's Chandler power.
It is Chandler power. And there is something freakish about the momentum behind Paddy. He just kind of, somehow he just manages to get it done, and in superb fashion. What happens to the division if Chandler loses and Paddy wins? That was a question I had at the front end I didn't get a chance to ask. But what happens to the division?
It's an interesting one because the sky's the limit for him if he wins this, because he could fight the likes of Arman Sarukian. Could he get someone like I know I'm talking behind Chandler, but excuse me, Paddy may need to defend his ranking. So then you get to the likes of the Gamrots, the Fizevs. Again, great matchups. Like, he can fight anyone in that top echelon of the division, and they're all quite exciting matchups. And they're matchups that I never thought I could think about Paddy being. And I remember having a conversation with you and Jordan, way before he fought Gerald Gordon. And I was like, I don't see Paddy in the top 5 mix. I don't see him fighting the likes of like the Chandlers, the Gaethjes, the Dustin Poiriers, the Fizevs. And now that he's there and I've seen a little bit more of him, I can kind of see it a little bit now.
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting point before we move on to the chat. Who is going to take this fight? Chandler or Paddy? Who's going to win? Come on.
You want to ask me? I would.
Yeah, who are you going for?
It's really hard for me to say.
My heart wants to obviously go with Paddy, but I actually think Chandler's going to knock him out.
yeah. I mean, right? Paddy fights like this. Chandler fights like this. So take it from Moicano. I don't think it's bad if Paddy loses this fight. It's not a bad thing. He's still dangerous and he's still got high hopes for the top end of the division. If Chandler loses this fight, it's bad for him. So yeah, I'm gonna say Chandler gets this one.
But if it was 5 rounds, then I'd be going Paddy.
Yeah, that's it, right?
I'm saying that, but I think Chandler still knocks him out in 1 or 2. So I wouldn't kind of.
Yeah, true.
It is a tough one because obviously, of course, I want Paddy to win. Of course, we want Paddy to win. But yeah, it's just like I think Paddy is probably not Paddy. Sorry, Chandler's going to come in there like he did against Oliveira and swing for the high heavens because obviously on paper, obviously Charles Oliveira's got more accolades as a grappler than Paddy. So you think if you're going to swing for the bleachers against someone like Charles Oliveira, what are you going to do to someone like Paddy?
True, but also the Chandler's a tank. And I think Paddy might struggle having his way with him on the ground as well, which kind of
that's true because Chandler defended a whole round being in a rear naked choke against Charles Oliveira in their first fight.
Yeah, no, you're just so true. He did. So I think should Paddy get it down, he's going to really struggle with that, with getting a submission.
Because it always comes down to it as well. Because like the matchups that we've seen previously, where the strong wrestlers. That you would think, oh, Charles Oliveira is going to sub him, but it's just because they're so strong on the mat, they're hard to submit. Like, so you think Charles Oliveira against Arman Sarukian, a lot of people were going, Charles Oliveira submit Arman Sarukian. Arman Sarukian was just strong. He's a strong wrestler. That's why I couldn't submit him. Same as Islam Makhachev, just a strong guy. Michael Chandler couldn't submit him in 2 fights. Just a strong guy. Yeah. So that's the sort of point for the chat to listen to as well, like for people that may be swaying towards a Paddy submission. Chandler's wise, and don't get me wrong, standing wise, he is a little bit out there, but defensively, when he's in submissions or when he's grappling wise and wrestling wise, he's very, very, very strong. Yeah, and hard to submit. Don't get me wrong, I know he got submitted by Dustin Poirier, but that was
true. It was hard. It's hard to get, and he had to go through a bloody war to get there too. And so I think that kind of sums it up. Then, right? You got Chandler, power, explosive, experience. Then you got Paddy Pimblett, who's youth, striking, accuracy, and jiu-jitsu as well. And you're looking at a mix of styles for this co-main event, but also 2 entirely different generations coming up against each other. We looked at those ages. So the betting odds, they do favor Paddy Pimblett because he's just got something mystical going behind him at the moment. And I think a lot of the OG fight fans are sticking by the roots of Chandler and what they know about this guy to kind of hold firm and knock him out. So I think it'll be a question of like, could Chandler knock him out within a distance, or could Paddy find a way to point him to point victory and embarrass him, or made him look quite embarrassing in the fatigue that happens in the later rounds. Perhaps that could probably be my way to do it if I am someone like Paddy Pimblett. But yeah, I've decided I'm going to throw my hat in the ring towards Chandler, and should Paddy get the win, I'm still going to be quite happy.
Yeah, exactly. I'm happy either way. If I get the correct pick on our app by saying Chandler, so be it. But obviously, if I'm not going to be too fussed if Paddy wins either. But while you switch us over, I'll get to some chats. Matt W says, is it 5 rounds? I think it's 3. I think we found out that it was 3 rounds.
Yeah.
But if anyone knows that it is definitely 3 or maybe definitely 5, do please let us know. Jack says, I never thought Paddy would make it this far or get his striking up to par.
Let's be honest.
But he has. Yeah. But I think Chandler finds that chin, unfortunately. And this is exactly what I just mentioned a minute ago, Jack. So like I was saying to the boys, I never thought that I would see Paddy up there fighting someone this high in the rankings. But like you said, he has grown and got better and better and better. And now that he's got that better, I can see him fighting these kind of guys in the top echelon of the division.
Yep. Yeah, no, me too. And I actually just think I take my hat off to Paddy because what he's been able to do to get to this far, it's incredible. And, could he surprise us again? We'll have to see. Not long now to find out. I'll take it back to the fight.